Americans are being quietly banned from countries they used to enter without a second thought. Immigration rules are changing, fast. One expired stamp, a misunderstood medication, even a single social media post can now get you flagged, detained, or banned for years. What used to be a welcoming world is turning hostile. Visas revoked without warning, deportations for minor infractions. And the worst part, most Americans have no idea until it's too late. Here are 10 countries quietly cracking down on American travelers in 2025, and you won't believe who's at number 1. Number 10, United Arab Emirates. Think Dubai is just glitz and glamour. Think again. In 2025, a US veteran was jailed for carrying CBD oil. Another American, deported, just for having an expired passport. In the UAE, even over-the-counter meds or a social media post that offends public morals can get you locked up. There are no second chances, no warnings. One minute you're sipping cocktails in a 5-star resort. The next, you're in detention, wondering what just happened. Dubai might sell the dream, but the reality? Zero tolerance. If you're not 100% compliant with the rules, you're out, or worse, in jail. So if you're American and planning a trip, you better know exactly what's in your bag, and what's on your phone. Because in the UAE, one small mistake can destroy your vacation, fast. Number 9, Saudi Arabia, where one misstep can cost you everything. Saudi Arabia may be rich in history, oil, and power, but in 2025, it's also become one of the strictest countries in the world when it comes to foreigners overstaying their welcome. Over 30,000 foreigners have already been deported in just the first few months of this year alone. And the message is clear. Violate even one immigration rule, and you're out, no questions asked. What kind of violations are we talking about? Not what you'd expect. Overstaying your visa by just a single day. That's not a slap on the wrist. It could mean immediate detention, thousands of dollars in fines, and forced deportation. Forget flexibility. There are no second chances here. And for American travelers used to leniency or being waived through customs, Saudi Arabia doesn't care what country you're from. Your passport won't protect you. In fact, it might even work against you. Here's where it gets even more shocking. Some American women tourists have reported being denied permission to leave the country unless a male guardian, sometimes even a stranger, gave official approval. Yes, this has actually happened. Other travelers faced weeks of delays, long interrogations, and had their passports confiscated, sometimes for nothing more than a misunderstood comment or suspicious behavior. Even your public conduct is under scrutiny. Speak too freely, act out of place, or post something online that rubs someone the wrong way. You could end up flagged, questioned, and expelled, without even being told what you did wrong. Saudi Arabia's immigration policy is not just about border control. It's about enforcing complete social, cultural, and legal compliance with no tolerance for deviation. Tourists are watched, residents are tracked, and foreigners are expected to know the rules before they step foot in the country. Miss a detail, and you're done. So the next time you think about a visit to Riyadh, Jeddah, or the stunning desert landscapes, ask yourself this: do you really know the laws? Do you really understand what's allowed and what's not? Because in Saudi Arabia in 2025, being uninformed isn't an excuse. It's a ticket home, and not the kind you want. Number 8, India, from tourist paradise to deportation hotspot. Once known for its spiritual charm, vibrant culture, and warm hospitality, India in 2025 is no longer the forgiving destination it used to be. In June 2025, Indian authorities launched an aggressive campaign called Operation Flush Out in the tourist-heavy state of Goa. It wasn't just a symbolic crackdown, it was real. In just a few days, 77 foreigners were detained and deported. What were their crimes? Overstaying their visas by a few days, unpaid tourist fees, and small documentation issues that would have been overlooked just a year or two ago. The US Embassy in New Delhi didn't waste time. They issued a blunt warning to all American travelers. Overstay your visa, even by a single day, and you could face deportation, a permanent ban from re-entry, and blacklisting in other countries around the world. The consequences don't stop there. India's new immigration laws, passed earlier this year, now carry up to 3 years in prison for violations that many tourists aren't even aware of. One missed flight, one delayed visa extension, that's all it takes. But here's the part most travelers don't know. In some regions, even exiting the country now requires a special permit. Yes, you could be blocked from leaving India until a lengthy bureaucratic process is completed. And if you're flagged for any reason, your name could end up in international immigration databases, restricting your ability to travel elsewhere, even back home. And it doesn't matter if it's your first time visiting. Even first-time visitors have been stopped at airports, pulled aside, and told they're not allowed to board. One American tourist, delayed by a cancelled train, overstayed his visa by 36 hours. He expected a fine. Instead, he was jailed, fined $300, and banned from entering India for 10 years. Just a few years ago, India welcomed tourists with open arms. A bit of flexibility, a bit of understanding. That's gone now. Today, immigration enforcement is ruthless. Deportations are swift, fines are heavy, and violations, however minor, can leave a permanent scar on your travel record. So if you're planning a trip to India, ask yourself, do you know the exact terms of your visa? Do you know what's required to leave the country? Because in 2025, India's doors are wide open, until they slam shut. And once they do, you may not be allowed back in. Number 7, Singapore, where perfection comes at a price. From afar, Singapore feels like the future. Clean, efficient, safe, and sparkling with modern beauty. It's a place where technology meets order, a global business hub with stunning architecture and world-class transport. But beneath the surface of this utopia lies one of the harshest immigration systems in the world, and in 2025, Americans are starting to find out the hard way. Here's the reality: overstaying your visa by just a single day in Singapore. That's not something they overlook. It comes with fines, mandatory reporting, and often, entry bans for months, or even years. Now cross the 90-day threshold. You're not just looking at financial penalties. You're looking at jail time, and in some cases, corporal punishment. Yes, we're talking about caning, a punishment still enforced today. One US traveler overstayed his visa while waiting for a rescheduled flight after falling ill. Despite presenting medical records, he was fined and banned from re-entering Singapore for 2 years. No mercy, no flexibility, just enforcement. And this system doesn't rely on random checks. It relies on precision. Biometric scanners track travelers' movements from the moment they land. Fingerprints, facial recognition, entry stamps, everything is logged. If your departure date doesn't match what's on file, your name lights up the moment you reach the airport. There are no friendly reminders. The system is designed to catch you slipping. Even more alarming, Singapore doesn't care if it was an honest mistake. You missed your flight, stayed in a remote area without checking your visa status. That's your problem. The penalties: overstaying by 1 to 90 days, fines, blacklisting. Over 90 days, jail, and for men, up to 3 lashes with a rattan cane. Repeat offenses or fake documents. You're looking at years in prison. And don't expect to fly under the radar. In 2025, Singapore's immigration tech is more advanced than ever. A woman who had overstayed her visa by 12 years was recently caught, not by a tip, but by facial recognition software during a routine mall check. Let that sink in: a random shopping trip, and boom, arrested on the spot. So while Singapore dazzles on the surface, it's not a place to take chances. It's not a place where "I didn't know" gets you a second chance. For Americans used to relaxed borders and flexible entry rules, this system can feel shockingly severe. But in Singapore, it's normal, expected, routine. In 2025, you don't just visit Singapore, you submit to its system. And if you step outside the lines, even by inches, the punishment can leave lasting marks, literally. Number 6, China, where you're guilty before you land. In early 2025, China rolled out sweeping new regulations. And they're not just about border control. These new rules allow for the expedited deportation of foreigners, including Americans, on vague suspicions like drug use, espionage, or even spreading online misinformation. Sound extreme? It is. And it's already happening. You don't need to break a law. You just need to raise a red flag. And that flag, it could be something as simple as a social media post you made years ago. Imagine this: you land in Beijing or Shanghai, passport scanned, everything seems normal, until you're suddenly pulled aside at immigration. You're taken to a separate room, questioned, your phone searched, then detained. No lawyer, no charges, no explanation, just silence. And then, just like that, deported. American citizens have already reported being held for days or even weeks, without being told what they did wrong. In many cases, travelers were only informed after they were put on a plane and banned from re-entering. One traveler was flagged for a tweet criticizing China's surveillance practices, posted from the US, months before they even bought their plane ticket. Others were reportedly targeted for past participation in protests, or even for having VPNs installed on their phones. Even something buried in your internet search history can raise suspicion. This isn't speculation. The US State Department has issued multiple warnings about arbitrary enforcement, exit bans, and detention without cause. And what's more disturbing, these practices are now systematized. China uses a web of facial recognition systems, app surveillance, and AI monitoring tools to track travelers before they even enter the country. If you've ever downloaded a banned app, joined a critical Facebook group, or reposted certain political content, you could be on a list already. It's not just government critics or journalists being flagged. Tourists, students, business travelers, anyone. You don't even need to know you've been targeted. Until it's too late, there's no trial, no embassy support, no way to appeal, just removal. And once you're on that blacklist, it doesn't just affect China, it can impact your ability to enter other countries allied with Chinese data sharing networks. So ask yourself, could a tweet from 5 years ago get you barred from entering a country today? In China, absolutely. In 2025, China isn't just watching its own citizens. It's watching everyone, and if you're American, don't assume you're immune. Number 5. Russia, where leaving might not be an option. Planning a trip to Moscow or St. Petersburg to soak in the art, the architecture, the history. Think again, because since 2024, Russia has quietly transformed its immigration and surveillance policies, and American travelers are now more vulnerable than ever. The government has implemented nationwide surveillance systems. Facial recognition cameras are on nearly every corner. Internet usage is tracked, and new laws allow for expedited expulsion of any foreigner labeled a national security risk. Here's the problem. What exactly is a security risk? The law doesn't say, and in Russia, that's deliberate. American travelers have already been detained for visiting politically sensitive websites while using Russian Wi-Fi, sharing anti-government posts online from the United States, attending a peaceful protest abroad, months before even entering Russia. You don't need to break a law inside Russia. They're watching what you do outside of it, too. In one case, a US business traveler was detained at a Moscow airport. Why? A tweet criticizing Russia's invasion of Ukraine, posted a year earlier. But that's just the beginning. Once you're flagged, Russia's Federal Security Service, the FSB, can issue an exit ban. That means you're not just detained. You're not allowed to leave. No warning, no public announcement, just a temporary restriction that can trap you in the country for weeks, or even months. And don't expect a call from the US Embassy to fix it. Americans who have been caught in this legal gray zone report having no access to legal counsel, no clear explanation of their offense, and no idea how long they'll be held. You might not be charged. You might not even be told where you're being watched. But you will be escorted to a detention center, or told you're being removed, or simply prevented from boarding your flight, without ever knowing why. And here's the most chilling part. Russia doesn't always tell you you've been banned. They just quietly blacklist your name, block your exit, and make you disappear from their system. So if you're thinking about visiting Russia in 2025, remember this. It's not just about what you do while you're there. It's about what you've said, posted, liked, or shared anywhere else. Because once you land in Russia, you're in their system. And when that system decides you're a problem, you might not be leaving. Number 4. El Salvador, from paradise to prison bars. For years, El Salvador was quietly rebranding itself, from a country once plagued by violence to an emerging hotspot for digital nomads and adventurous travelers. Volcanoes, beaches, Bitcoin-friendly policies, it was starting to look like the next big thing. But in 2025, everything changed. In a shocking announcement, President Nayib Bukele proposed a new deal. El Salvador would begin housing foreign prisoners, including Americans, in its sprawling mega-prisons. Yes, you heard that right. The same high-security compounds, built to hold over 40,000 inmates, many without trial, could soon be the place where Americans serve sentences for crimes committed overseas. The official reason? To assist with international detention capacity. But behind this public headline lies a darker, quieter shift. While the world focused on the prison proposal, El Salvador quietly tightened its immigration laws. Now, tourists are being denied entry or deported for overstaying a visa by just a few days. Trace amounts of drug residue, including marijuana, and the most dangerous one of all, disrupting public order, a term so vague, it can mean just about anything. One American traveler posted a video online criticizing police violence. 2 days later, he was detained, questioned, had his visa revoked, and was deported without ever being told what law he broke. No charges, no hearing, just gone. And the crackdown is only getting worse. Peaceful protests, risky, volunteer work without a permit, suspicious, online posts, monitored. There are now reports of American tourists being denied boarding at Salvadoran airports with no explanation, others detained for hours under the guise of random screening. All of this while immigration agents conduct more aggressive surveillance at airports, border crossings, and even hostels. So ask yourself, how did a country once begging for tourism become a place where Americans can be imprisoned, deported, or banned for something as small as a tweet? And what happens if this prison sharing proposal with the United States goes through? We may be entering a new era, where a tourist misstep overseas could land an American in a foreign mega prison, stripped of legal protection, miles from home, with no clear way out. El Salvador's sun-drenched beaches and friendly facade are still there. But behind it now stands barbed wire, biometric checkpoints, and a government that's watching closely. In 2025, this is no longer just a vacation destination. It's a place where the wrong word or the wrong look could cost you everything. Number 3, Indonesia, paradise with a price. Bali. The word alone brings up images of sun-drenched beaches, rice terraces, yoga retreats, and endless sunsets. For years, Indonesia, especially Bali, has been known as a backpacker's paradise and a digital nomad haven. But in 2025, that dream is becoming a legal minefield. Overstaying your visa by just 1 day, you're fined the equivalent of $68 per day, and that's just the start. Many travelers who overstay even slightly are detained in immigration holding centers, interrogated, and then hit with temporary or even permanent bans from returning. Some are stuck in bureaucratic limbo for weeks, with passports confiscated and travel plans ruined. But visa issues are only one piece of the puzzle. Indonesia now strictly enforces cultural and moral codes, especially when it comes to social media. A tourist who posted a bikini photo near a Hindu temple was deported for disrespecting local traditions. Another was removed for criticizing internet speeds and government inefficiency in a tweet. And if you think volunteering at an orphanage or helping in a hostel is harmless, think again. Unpaid work, even without profit, is illegal without the correct permit. That means teaching yoga, hosting meetups, or even leading group tours could get you flagged for working illegally. The scariest part, there are no warnings. Immigration doesn't call, they don't send an email. One day, you get a knock on the door, and you're told, pack your bags. You're being deported, effective immediately. You don't get a chance to explain. You don't get to appeal. You're out. And once banned, it's not just Indonesia that shuts its doors. Your immigration record can affect entry into other Southeast Asian countries that share data, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and more. In 2025, Indonesia has moved from relaxed to ruthless. The laws are strict, the surveillance is real, and American tourists are no exception. So while Bali may still look like a dream on Instagram, one post, one misstep, one visa mistake, and it can all turn into a nightmare. Because in Indonesia, the system isn't designed to forgive. It's designed to remove you. Fast. Number 2. Thailand. The land of smiles has taken a sharp turn. In the past year, deportations have increased sharply, including dozens of Americans who overstayed their visas by just a few days. Random immigration checks are now common. Landlords are ordered to report foreign tenants. One tourist was deported for criticizing local traffic enforcement on social media. Another had their visa cancelled after joining a peaceful protest. Thailand still offers beauty, but one mistake, and you're on a plane home with no chance to return. Number 1. Turkey. Once warm and welcoming, Turkey is now quietly detaining and deporting Americans. Since 2024, Turkey expanded its definition of national security threat. Tourists and students have been expelled for sharing opinions, joining gatherings, or simply posting online. And you may not even be charged. The government uses administrative decisions, meaning no trial, no appeal, just an order to leave. In some cases, travelers have been trapped in the country under unexplained exit bans for weeks or months. No headlines, no public warning, just a quiet flight home, and a permanent block on your return. The world is changing. What was once a routine trip can now become a legal trap. So double-check your visa, know the local laws, and think twice before you post anything online. Because in 2025, your American passport isn't a shield, it might just be a target. If this video opened your eyes, hit that like button, subscribe for more updates, and share this with someone who needs to know, before it's too late.